the speculation is that Llama3 will be a model they claim as good as, if not better than GPT-4 currently. And the big statement is that it's still going to be open sourced for everyone to use, including researchers like us. Because obviously publications are mainly coming from Western countries like the US and the UK, France, but China is also a big player.
China very much so.
Yeah. These countries will have a lot of sway about how AI is developed. Welcome to another episode of Dev and Doc, the podcast that discusses AI and healthcare. So, what I wanted to talk to you about today was my experience in the recent conference.
Oh, the Festival of Genomics?
The one which you bailed on, yeah.
Okay.
To go skiing.
True.
Yeah, we were supposed to do a joint talk, but Joko had different priorities. But no, so look, this is a big conference, the Festival of Genomics and Biodata. And it was very interesting because I chaired the large language model session. And the fact that there is a large language model / generative AI session is very interesting. Like, I think it tells you a lot about what people are interested in. Because this is the first year, right, that there's a LLM stage for generative AI. So there's a lot of hype around this. And I just wanted to talk about my experience, some of the things I noticed and some of the interesting talks. And also we have some big news. Obviously, we want to talk about the announcements of Llama3, which is a really exciting announcement that we'll go to at the end. But so, I chaired the conference and there was some really amazing talks on large language models and uses of generative AI. But I also felt like a lot of the talks, the quality was great, but I feel like people are just squeezing in generative AI now for like no real reason.
Wherever it goes, it's just like add a bit of generative AI and...
So, there was a really nice talk actually from a company. So they essentially use NLP, natural language processing, that we talk about. They use named entity recognition and other things to basically scour the internet for resources and papers on different topics. And this is to guide kind of drug development and cancer development. And, they want to get an idea of what publications are coming out and what are people talking about that could suggest the potential useful candidate to take further to preclinical trials or clinical trials, right?
Oh, okay. So it's some kind of like filtering of all the publications or selecting the ones that are working or that people are talking about, basically.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that in itself is a difficult task. You need to know where to find the data. You need to use quite sophisticated approaches with named entity recognition and also, looking for similar articles and things that may be trending. And that was all well and good. I think it's really useful. And they have built a company out of this.
Do you know that we have made something similar?
For which? For the dashboard of AI.
Dashboard of AI and
yes,
healthcare.
I do know that. So by the way, we have a dashboard that tracks all the AI publications and
on the screen now.
Importantly, the geography, like which countries it's coming from, and all in the name of equality and fairness, just tracking where publications are, because obviously publications are mainly coming from Western countries like the US and the UK, France, but China is also a big player.
China very much so.
These countries will have a lot of sway about how AI is developed. Anyway, so this company is great, and they've built a business out of it. But then in the end, in the last kind of 5 minutes, they just said, "Oh, by the way, we use generative AI for this." And then I was watching the talk. I was like, okay, which part is generative AI? And it's like, oh yeah, so in the end, when we have gathered all the articles and kind of summarize the data in long form, we use the generative AI to then summarize it to a shorter paragraph. We put it through ChatGPT and it summarizes. I don't think it's necessary. They just kind of add it on.
Yeah, it does seem so. I think like at least for such use cases, you benefit from having the data organized, extracting the entities, showing it in groups, showing what's popular, what's not, and the fact that you can also display a short summary in free text.
Yeah.
Maybe not that important, but I mean, again,
look. The work. My point is, the work is great, and there's no need to add on the magic generative AI at the end to make it more exciting. It's already a very exciting work in its own right. But yeah, that was just a very interesting experience. But overall, the talks were great. So we had the talk from GSK. They were talking about using basically generative AI / GPT models to run kind of experiments on drug discovery in silico, and then that can guide them as to what to take forward to preclinical trials, etc.
Nice.
Yeah. So great space.
Do you know did they put anything up online? Like other slides or anything online?
No, so that was quite recent research, but we'll have a look.
Okay.
I mean, we'll have a look, but yeah.
No, just from the conference. Did they put the slides online from the conference?
No.
Oh, okay, no. If we find anything, we'll put a link, but if not, we'll just...
Yeah. Anyway, it just got me thinking, there's this talk about the hype cycle. And, we have a picture that we can show. But essentially, there's a big peak, obviously, of interest around large language models. And sometimes I feel like I've been reading so much about LLMs, and there's so much research coming out, but at the same time, I have spoken out about how there's a lack of more rigorous studies or randomized controlled trials with LLMs or generative AI in the medical space. So there's a slight disillusionment. So I'm seeing myself in kind of getting to the trough of that curve sometimes. I don't know how you feel about this, all these hype cycles. If you've been in machine learning for longer, you probably have seen different hype cycles come and go. I
mean, I think we are slightly passing this hype cycle now. I think we have passed the peak.
Yeah,
at least
definitely.
I would say so. Yeah, I think the peak was sometime mid next year or something like that, when we were just riding at the top of GPT-4.
Yeah.
But now I think we have passed a bit, and we'll probably now see a bit more proper research and people really putting more effort. And also, like, there are hundreds of projects that have started basically at the beginning of last year and only now are coming to conclusion. So one of these like bigger, more rigorous papers that will come out. So I think we'll see for sure some of the proper research very soon. And now that the hype cycle has passed a bit, I think that will be nice. Again, it depends what will happen in the next couple of months. If we again get something big, then hype will come back immediately.
Yes. Speaking of which, this is going all over the news, and it's a big announcement from Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
He basically released a video of himself on Threads.
Yes, the Facebook, Twitter.
The Twitter clone.
Yeah.
Didn't he like steal the code from the actual...
Oh, I don't know.
Sorry, Zuck. But yeah, so he announced that they have now finally got the compute in place to train Llama3, which is going to be super interesting.
So how many GPUs did they said they will have by end of year?
Something like 350,000 H100s. I mean, I don't even know what H100s specifically perform at. I'm guessing they're pretty big.
No, H100 is just the next generation after A100.
After A100, right?
Yeah, I think with respect to size, they are around the similar size with like amount of memory, but they are faster than A100s. But I do think he said the equivalent of 350,000 H100. So maybe they have also some other GPUs and all of that.
Do you know how much that would cost roughly? I mean, it's probably very expensive.
Oh man, it is a lot of money. Yeah, I forgot what was the price of H100s. We were ordering them recently, like a couple of weeks ago. We were ordering H100s. I forgot what was the exact price. In any case, it's in tens or hundreds of millions. No, hundreds of millions for sure.
Yeah. So, the speculation is that Llama 3 will be a model they claim as good as, if not better than GPT-4 currently. And the big statement is that it's still going to be open sourced for everyone to use, including researchers like us.
Yeah, no, that will be awesome. We don't know much about the size, or will it be multimodal or not, or any of that. But the assumption is it will be multimodal, given the GPT-4 is, and that's basically the natural step forward from Llama 2. But yeah, I mean, it is great.
Yeah, I mean, in your opinion, do you think that would drive forward more research for us to take a model like that into hospitals and electronic health records if we can run it?
I mean, 100%. We also just know that, I mean, just look at Llama 2.
Yeah.
Just that is driving a lot of research. Basically, like half of the open source community is using Llama 2. So that's driving basically like half of the world using LLMs. So you have a couple of other options, but basically people are always between Llama and Mistral. Those are the two main open source ones currently, and that's driving 90% of the open source community with respect to LLMs.
Yeah.
So for sure, Llama 3 will be awesome.
And then there's something else they released, right? Code LlaMa.
Oh yes, they just released that I think a couple of days ago. So the Code LlaMa is basically the Copilot equivalent for coding. Okay. So like you have the, if you are coding, you have in VS Code, you can have the GitHub Copilot, and then it can help you code and all of that. So they've released basically the clone of that model. Llama fine-tuned for coding. And what was interesting, this is only a 70 billion parameter model. I mean, it's big, but only that because it is outperforming GPT-4 on coding, on the coding benchmark.
Interesting.
And it is better than GPT-4. It's better than Bard from Google. It's better than almost anything else.
Okay, so it's blown the competition.
Yeah, I mean, blowing is, it is like good. It's very 1% better.
And so is Code LlaMa open source as well?
Yes.
Okay. So that's what, who would have thought Meta is now the benevolence?
Who would have imagined that a year ago? But it is awesome. I mean, it was also, again, it was not that hard to imagine. Meta has already done a lot for the open source community. So for example, a lot of people are ignoring that fact, but like PyTorch came out of Meta. Not really, but Meta made it to what it is today. So the primary researcher was not started initially from Meta, but in any case, Meta made it popular and basically made it what it is today. So PyTorch is something on which most of the current models are built. Like 90% of everything currently, except for Google that's using TensorFlow and how is the new one called? JAX.
Yeah. But yeah, it's one of the main machine learning packages that you can run.
Frameworks, yeah. So Meta had already done quite a bit for the open source community, but again, I don't think many expected that they will release full-on models.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. And since we are talking about this, I think then it also makes sense to mention the recent improvements in Google Bard.
Yes. They've basically refined the secret sauce, haven't they? So for those who don't know, there is a leaderboard of large language models on Hugging Face, and GPT-4 has been like the top for a long time, and GPT-3.15 is very close to that as well. But they've refined whatever they've done in Google and Bard is now shot up to number 2, so just behind GPT-4.
Yeah, it is just a little bit worse. So I think the leaderboard is ELO based.
Like chess.
Yeah, like chess. So I was looking a bit into this and like how do they really do it, but it is just based on a voting system from users.
Oh, so they don't actually go head to head on a benchmark and then...
No, they do. So what you would have is you would just, when you go to that website from, I think it was Llama Systems, when you go on the website, you basically you can write your prompt, click generate, and the model will show you 2 outputs.
And
you will not know which one is which, and you say which one won, and that basically like uses the ELO rating, which is the same as in chess, which would be like the winner gets a bit higher, and like that the systems are ranked.
That's really clever.
Yeah, I mean, it is clever, but it also obviously requires a lot of manual work.
Yeah.
Because there is no automatic scoring of these systems. But I think what makes these better is that you cannot really overfit the benchmark, which happens a lot in these benchmarks. Like if you have a benchmark of the medical exam.
Yeah, people will tune the model specifically to beat that exam, right, or that benchmark.
Yeah, exactly. And in a lot of cases, a lot of these benchmarks leak. So usually in a benchmark, you would keep the test set hidden. So you would put out a public set that can be used, and you would keep the test set hidden, or you will say to everyone, okay, don't use the test set. This is the training set that you should use. But over time, stuff leaks. And test set ends up somewhere on Reddit, or someone mentions it in a post somewhere, or whatever else, or books now contain portions of the test set. And of course, if you have trained GPT-4 on all of internet, it will also, it will find the pieces of the test set, and then it will overfit the benchmark, and then it will of course be like 99% or whatever.
Yeah, so human evaluations is still probably one of the best ways to evaluate these models.
Yeah, there is probably also again a bit of overfitting there, just because humans always will ask similar questions. I mean, 90% of the questions I assume will be similar. People asking random stuff.
But at least it aligns us towards what humans like in general. And I think that leads us on to the next episode where we'll cover reinforcement learning.
Yeah, I was like, why did we decide to cover reinforcement learning from human feedback? I understood recently that chatting with people that there are not many like nice explanations or simple explanations of RLHF. There are many tutorials, but not really, like, I don't know, I didn't find them that nice. And I also found that still many people are not sure what is RLHF and what does it really mean when you have reinforcement learning from human feedback. How are humans integrated into that, and what do they do? So I think it's fun to address that a bit in more detail. Yeah,
no, let's do it. I'm very interested to learn more. Let's catch up on the next episode.
Awesome. Okay, so this was a short episode on basically the news of Llama3, on the code Llama outperforming basically everything else, Josh visiting a conference and seeing what was happening in the Festival of Genomics, and of course we'll just announcing a bit the next episode, which will be reinforcement learning with human feedback. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.
See ya.